Hey, welcome to another SEO Hangout with Josh Bachynski. That would be myself. I have some very interesting tips and leaks from Google this week. So let's just get right started, right to it. Okay, so on September 9th, Mr. Mueller, Johnny Boy, he mentioned some interesting things. Somebody came into his Hangout and mentioned that they received a natural link notice. I'm not sure of what kind, if it was versus site or versus links. But they mentioned that when they did a reconsideration request, they got back some examples. So we know that they're doing that now, that they give you link examples. And but one of the link examples was DMOZ. Now DMOZ, as you know, is a web directory that people have been using for years, the open source web directory. And it's supposed to be sacrosanct. It's supposed to be okay. Some people say it's a directory. It's not okay. Some people say, even in Google, John Mueller says it should be okay. But it came up under the reconsideration request notice as an example of a bad link. And so this person asked John Mueller, what's going on? These DMOZ links are supposed to be good. And so John Mueller literally fumbled through an answer. I don't know why it's there. I don't know, maybe blah, 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 blah. So the long and the short of it is that, remember, John Mueller just a few weeks earlier had said that in his opinion you should follow every single manual link made. And a DMOZ link, even though it's a moderated directory, which is supposed to be fine, any directory where the moderator is putting the link there, it's moderated, so the moderator puts the link there, then that's supposed to be fine. And supposedly DMOZ is supposed to work this way. But it did come up. The point is this, is that Google's algorithms detected this link and detected it as a bad link and put it in the examples of the bad links you should be cleaning up. And the manual reviewer looked at it and said, yeah, click and sent it. So that's how John Mueller explained how that works. So this should tell you a number of things, both that John Mueller said, that Matt Cutts has said, that this is the whole war against links. That Matt Cutts has said that they don't consider links to be the primary third-party signal of quality anymore, that John Mueller has previously said that you should be no following all manual links, that their algorithms are coming up with the DMOZ link as a bad link. This should tell you about the way that they're going and how they actually consider links and whether the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. This is the way that they're going, and the underlying current is that all these manual links are a problem. And quite frankly, any directory, they don't care what it is. They're moving away from considering that kind of a signal. One. Two, they're moving closer to trying to penalize it when you've done it too excessively. And they can detect it. So make sure you have a linking system that you can remove those kinds of links like that. The next thing, speaking of links and issues, manual actions. Somebody asked, just a quick little thing, somebody asked, I have a manual action, when do they expire? Months ago, John Mueller mentioned that most manual actions do expire within 6 months. That's the default time that they expire. And when they de-index blog networks, for example, that's the default time that those sites are de-indexed for. And he said that at that time that you should get your links off of those terrible blog networks, so he said, because they will come back into the index, he says, after 6 months. And I've seen this. Various blog networks that are hit, I had links on there, and I kept making links on there because I knew eventually those links would come back up after 6 months. And for me, for this particular blog network, they did. I'm not going to say which blog network it is, but it might be one you know, it might not be. So it was a fairly popular one. So some of those blogs come back, and so suddenly I got a couple hundred, 300 or 400 links back, because some of those sites that were de-indexed, they're not actually de-indexed, they're just blocked from ranking or being considered in ranking for 6 months. This is how John Mueller explains it. Just explained it months ago. So now someone asked recently, how long will these manual actions last? And he said that the problem is, although they usually expire after X number, 6 months, or the manual team person can choose to make them last for a year or two, he says the problem is that even if the manual reviewer doesn't do that and they're only going to last for 6 months, the problem is that if the problems that algorithmically triggered or bubbled up the site for the manual reviewer to click yes or no, this is a problem, because that's all done algorithmically, right? And the manual reviewer just kind of is like a chicken bobbing up and down like this, yes, yes. Penalize, yes, right? And they only do that, they have algorithms that detect a lot of these issues and just ignore it automatically. That's how the action versus links works, probably, in my opinion. They're suspect, but not suspect enough that they're going to hit you for it, and not suspect enough they're going to bubble it up to a person. That's my speculation based on what John Mueller has said. But anyway, the point is we know that a lot of this is done algorithmically. And the meta reviewer is just kind of like the last step when a human pair of eyeballs would be good, because the algorithm still isn't good enough to tell, is this really a problem? Because they don't want to be too punitive, believe it or not. They don't want to be too punitive. And they also don't want to hit you for what is obviously negative SEO. That's another reason why they have the action versus links, because they can't be sure that you made them, right? And so, although they are fairly punitive and cavalier, far too much, in my opinion, some of them there still do care. John Mueller seems to be one of them, that you're not being hit for negative SEO. Anyway, so they have algorithms to detect all these issues, and the manual reviewer is kind of the last step in this process. And the problem is that even if the manual action, that's what they call a penalty, a manual action, they don't even like using punitive language. Penalty is too punitive, so they call it a manual action. There was action taken on the site by the manual team for violating their web guidelines. Even if that only lasts 6 months, he says the problem there is that the algorithmic conditions, the conditions that triggered the algorithm in the first place, might not be cleaned up and still exist. And so the site keeps coming up, it keeps getting found, keeps getting bubbled up, and the manual reviewer will keep burying it, poking it down, burying it down even further. So this, in net effect, either in actual duration and or in net effect, the manual action can last for years, he says. And so the whole point of the question was, should I fix it now? And he said, yes, you should definitely try and fix all the problems now. Otherwise, if you have a manual action versus site, not versus links, because you can't do anything about that. They've ignored these links, you can't do anything about that. I've mentioned that a bunch of times. I know I've ranted about that a bunch of times, but I'm going to rant about that again. If it's an action versus links, check your webmaster tools. If an action versus links, you don't do anything about it. But if it's an action versus site, you should clean it up because it can last years. Either it's been set to, the duration is for years of the manual action, the penalty, or it can keep coming up. So you got to clean that stuff up. He says you shouldn't try to outweigh it. Also, another thing he mentioned, and I've mentioned many times before, because I've seen it many times myself, and other people have noticed this, is that you have to try to avoid site moves. I know a lot of people want to, I don't know, I'll just 301 my site here or move my site there. It is not a trivial issue for Google. And John Mueller reminded us of this on the 9th of September. Any architecture changes can cause Google to reprocess the site. And this can cause a deranking as they do so. Also, as they are reprocessing the site, if you change the domain name, you change the directory structure, that changes the keywords, right? It changes how they algorithmically determine what that page, what that site is about. And also, it can cause further deranking. When they reprocess the site, they could realize that, oh yeah, you had these bad links and you're this percentage of bad links just over, or your usage metrics are just not good enough, and so now we're going to nab you, or you're not as relevant to this set of queries we thought you were because you changed things slightly, and now we're going to change this, and it can derank you. I call it ranking inertia. And there's actually a post on the Google Webmaster Hangout forums that John Mueller also posts on. That's what he's been doing for years. He's just recently started doing Hangouts because they want to promote Google+. He's done that for the last year and a half, and I've watched every single one, most of them twice. So I'm stalking, I'm stalking John Mueller. I admit it, I'm stalking him online and listening to every single thing he says. And coupled with my own SEO experiments and research, I'm kind of figuring out, and then listening to Matt Cutts and talking with Matt Cutts on Twitter, I'm figuring out, between here and there what the true story is in the middle, or at least trying to. Hi, that's me. That's my life. Welcome to my life. It's very depressing. Trust me. Oh, trust me, I know. Okay, so anyway, moving right along, as he laughs nervously and in an insane fashion. Yeah, so it can cause them to reprocess the site, and so you can be deranked for that. So I keep telling clients this, if you can, do not change your domain name, do not 301 this, do not change the architecture of that. It can cause a problem. It's like you're balancing on the top of a mountain. It's like in Survivor, when they're balancing on that post, and they decide to change things around because their foot's sore. Well, don't do it unless you know for a fact you can pull it off. Because it increases the chances if you went oops and falling, or oops and your teacup falls, or whatever, or oops, Google reprocesses the whole thing and you just go over some threshold and you're not as relevant for some topic as they thought you were anymore, and it can cause ranking issues. I've seen it, a good 50-60% of the time. Which is a good reminder to also remind you of this, which is another thing that John Moo was talking about, was that internal linking matters. Page rank sculpting still works and still matters. And this, in my opinion, is where your internal linking structure and your pyramid linking comes into play. This is where you want your tier 2 pyramids. At the top of the pyramid is your internal subpages that you want to rank, and those all pyramid up to your index page, if that's the way you want to rank. If your index page is relevant for the queries you want to rank it for. If your index page is not relevant, it's just some doorway page to get them deeper in the site, then don't even bother trying to rank the index page. Don't even bother trying to tweak those those title tags as if it was 2005, because it's not. Because they won't necessarily rank the index page. They might decide you're more relevant for long tail queries and start trying to rank your article pages, which you can have articles linking up to top article pages, or you can have articles and info pages and product pages linking up to top sub pages as well. So that internal page rank matters, and the bigger the site, the more internal page rank you have. So don't forget about that. Okay, so here's a very interesting one here. And I mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again, and this has also come up again with the Hummingbird algorithm. So I'll mention what this is all about. There is a new world order in Google, and Google was asked, what is the future of Google? And the answer from John Mueller is Google+. Google Plus is the future of Google. The knowledge panel is the future of Google. The Hummingbird algorithm is the future of Google. This is all Google's future. And they're all interrelated. They're not separate things. They're all interrelated. Local, Google Places, Google Plus, the knowledge panel, being logged in, search plus your world, spew, being logged in for them, bubbling up Google Plus results, is all part of the future for their user interface, of what they're going to be providing for people, but also it's part of the future for understanding what people are looking for and understanding what they surf and how they surf, and also a part of verification of organic results. Let me give you some background onto this. So the Hummingbird algorithm, if you haven't heard of it, Hummingbird, is a complete algorithm rewrite. It is as huge an algorithm rewrite as Amit Singhal did in 2001. They rewrote the algorithms entirely in 2001. Amit Singhal did. He's now the head of web search. He shares an office, literally shares an office with Matt Cutts. Matt Cutts and Amit Singhal, they sit in the same office, and their desks are side by side. Matt Cutts is the head of web spam. Amit Singhal is, I guess, his boss, and is the head of web search, period. But, obviously it's a very equilateral relation. If you watch that, they have a video of one of their web search team hangouts, and it's like the president talking with his chief of staff. There's like people there and people on the sidelines and people on those sidelines and people on screens watching. It's like a huge deal. You think that Amit Singhal was the president of the United States or something. No, Amit, you should not run for president of the United States. It's a terrible job, as I hear it. And people don't like you after you get elected. They like you fine before you get elected, they don't like you anymore. And he's not very popular with some SEOs as it is right now. But anyway, Hummingbird, sorry. I should call this Tangents with Josh Bachynski, who should be talking about SEO but gives his color commentary on everything else he wants to. Hummingbird is the new rewrite of the algorithm that they put out, and Amit Singhal recently announced this. And essentially, it alone doesn't have very much to do with SEO. Alone, people are saying, oh, I screwed up my rankings, blah, blah, blah. I doubt it. It might decide, Hummingbird is kind of a new semantic way of knowing it's like semantic language understanding, natural language understanding. That's what it is. When John Mueller was asked about it, he explained, he says, it really has very little to do, or nothing to do with ranking websites. The only way you can affect the ranking of websites, and which is why I don't think any of these fluctuations we've seen is it. I think it'd be another Payday Loans or another Panda, where they've been releasing, by many of them. And of course, Matt Cutts also announced in May that they're having the summer of SEO hell, and they're launching like literally 10 different algorithms to find link spam and bad quality websites. And so it could very well be another one of those. We weren't quite out of the summer yet in July and August, right? A month ago when they say they released Hummingbird. So I doubt that Hummingbird is affecting the sites this much, because the reason why is because it just is another algorithm to process natural language to compete with Siri, so that people can say, "What's the weather?" and it knows who you are, where you are, and what weather, or what are my flights, and that's the kind of thing that they're doing. So it's possible that it also changes. It does change rankings, Amit Singh all said, but very minorly, in a way that they thought you were about topic XYZ before, and now they're going to rank you for topic ABC because they understand the long tail queries a little bit better of things, not strings. This whole things, not strings thing that they're doing is that they're understanding better categories and categories of categories and categories of categories. That's the way they're going, and that's why Google Places is made this way, and that's why Google Plus is made this way, about categories of topics on categories of topics. Everything is a giant thesaurus as far as they're concerned, with percentage relations of this topic to that topic, and related to this and related to that, in giant trees of categories. And so they may have shifted you on some categories deep below that they now have better natural language processing to drill searchers down to these topics. So it might have changed you slightly if you weren't using schema to tell Google what each page was about, and the pages are not very well SEO'd, and so there's no URL, keyword in URL, keyword in title, keyword in H1, or lots of keywords in the text to tell Google what this page is about. And you can tell how well they're doing that. Well, actually, you can't do it anymore. Sorry, the keyword tool is gone. Google screws you again. The keyword tool is gone. And so now you have the stupid keyword planner. It's ridiculous. You used to, if you could still find this somewhere in the keyword planner, you used to be able to take your URL and plug it in there and say, show me the keywords I should buy ads for. And those were also, coincidentally, the keywords they would probably rank you for. That's their algorithms auto-determining what your site is about and saying, okay, you should rank for this because you're about this, right? And it doesn't always work. 90% of the time it worked. And with Hummingbird, I hope it works better. It's supposed to work better. But sometimes it didn't work. For example, I had a client who had organic dog food, but because they didn't mention dog or pet anywhere on the page because it was well written, brevity is the art of wit, they say, and so the text was brief. And it had pictures of dogs and cats. And so you knew, oh, they're talking about organic dog food. But because it didn't say pet or dog enough on the page in the title or the URL or in the text, Google didn't know this, and so they thought it said you should be ranking for organic human food, organic food. And so I actually had to tell my client to mess up their writing and go in there and stick keywords in, say pet and dog here, and they had an English PhD doing their writing, and she did not like that, let me tell you. But anyway, I digress. So Google Plus, the Knowledge Panel, Hummingbird, this is all Google's future. Logged in, verified categories of what you've plus one and what you've shared. This is all wrapped into the future. And so this is why I'm bringing this up, is because John Mueller on September 9th was asked, because you can host websites on Google now. Google Plus is going to be offering website hosting, and you have kind of like a Google Plus website. And so somebody asked if Google Plus will ever replace website rankings of websites with their Google Plus hosted websites. And I thought, oh yeah, I was half listening because I thought John Mueller would say, no, we will always rank websites with them, we'll be fair, and blah, 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 blah. That's not what he said at all. That's not even close to what he said. He goes into a diatribe. You think I can diatribe? He goes into a diatribe defending blogger-style Google Plus hosted websites and how it is better for end users. You watch the Hangout yourself if you don't believe me. And how it's fast, how it will be verified, and how this is a good thing for end users. That's how they talk. And that it's wonderful, for web rankings, because they'll have, essentially, he didn't say it this way, but essentially they have complete control of everything. They could verify for everything. It'll be fast, it's good for end users, blah, blah, blah. So this is, and of course the CEO of Google Plus was once asked in a keynote address he was doing on 2012. You can go see it. Can't remember the gentleman's name. I believe he's East Indian. And he was asked, what is Google Plus to Google? And he looked at them as if it was the dumbest question in the world. He said, Google Plus is the future of Google. That is the way things are going. He has carte blanche to kind of drive the company in the direction he wants to take it, more or less was the upshot of what he was saying. Google Plus is the future of Google, and all this, the Knowledge Panel, Hummingbird, logged in, verified rankings, algorithms for ranking, and for personalization. So think about this moving forward in the future. It's not to spew or not to spew, right? It's not. The question is not will he be logged in or not. Should I worry about my global rankings? Because the fact of the matter is this: is that most of the users in the future will be logged in. Remember, if they're searching, Google predicts in 2014, probably 2015 at the latest, that mobile searches are going to exceed desktop searches. And that the most popular, despite the iPhone enthusiast and how loudly they think iPhones are great, if you check the stats, Android kills iPhone. iPhone was early adopted, and then Android just went whoop, like that. That's the curve. That's not them flying away or any kind of weird sound. That was meant to be my representation of the bell curve of Android just shooting up in third world countries and in first world countries as well. Android is percentage-wise the most used mobile phone, and of course they're all logged in. If you have your Android on, you're logged in, right? So most users in the future, Google is trying to tell us, and this is the way they're going. Not only are they going to be hosting their content on Google Plus with all those Google Plus signals, but most searchers are going to be logged into Google Plus. And so I don't think authorship is probably ever going to have a global ranking factor. I don't think it's ever going to need a global ranking factor because everyone's going to be logged in, or most people are going to be logged in. Not provided is increasing, right? Google is going to tell people, you should log in because we can give you better results, right? That's all I have to do is just start saying at the top, hey, you should log in, you'll get better results. And most people go, okay, and they'll do it, right? So this is the way they're going. And so look for it in the future. I warned you. Don't say Joshy didn't warn you. I warned you. Where's the camera? There. You. Warned you. Okay. September 11th. Moving on to the next brand. September 11th, Matt Cutts talked Panda. And September 13th, John Mueller chimed in with Panda as well. And Cutts said, so this is his interpretation of how to beat Panda. He says you want to make sites that, quote-unquote, are compelling, that are nice to read, and there are content pieces that end users enjoy. And what do you want to avoid? He says you want to avoid derivative content, or duplicate content, or scraped content. But mostly derivative content, boring content, stuff that's not compelling, stuff that's not nice to read, stuff that dissatisfies them, stuff that does not answer their question, text and content and pieces that end users do not enjoy, that they find boring, at best even worse, that does not terminate their search, does not answer the question. And John Mueller chimed in on Panda while we're on the topic. He chimed in on the 13th, and he said that you don't have to worry about non-indexed pages, though. If the page is not in their index, then it does not count for Panda. So I know I've mentioned that before, and he's mentioned Panda a number of times and how it works and how it really is based on usage metrics. As far as he mentions, as far as we can tell, because we've asked him, should we have validated content? Should we validate our HTML? He's like, no, it doesn't matter. Should we have movies in the video? He says, it doesn't matter if you have movies in the video or not. It should be straight text or not. He says, John Mueller says, it doesn't really matter if it's straight text or not. It does matter if the users don't enjoy it. And then they ask, oh, so you mean the analytics bounce rate? He goes, no. The data that we use for Panda is nothing like the analytics bounce rate, quote unquote. I've heard him say that 10 times at least. I'll repeat it. The bounce rate that we use for Panda is nothing like the analytics bounce rate. Okay, well, it's not like the analytics bounce rate, but it's like some kind of bounce rate, right? And of course, we already know that the click-through rate of what they find on the SERP, the user goes to the page and they come back and they click on a result. They've already mentioned in the book, in the Plex, they've already mentioned, John Mueller's mentioned point blank that they track that. They've already mentioned, and it's already been mentioned that it has something to do with Panda. Either it triggers a Panda review, or it's a part of Panda, or it's another algorithm altogether, which I believe it is. And people have already started to optimize that and manipulate that. So, in white hat ways and not so white hat ways.
If you want to know more about that, please contact me. By the way, before I forget, you can contact me about any SEO question you have. My email address is joshbachynski@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at joshbachynski. And last but not least, you can watch all of my YouTube videos where I leak all of the SEO Google goods that I've come across and that I find weekly at my YouTube channel, youtube.com/jbachyns, J-B-A-C-H-Y-N-S, which you might already be there, but you might not. Okay, and so last thing we want to talk about, here's another very interesting one as well, that the EMD is not always better. There's a whole number of reasons for this. So John Mueller was asked, should I buy on September 13th, should I get an EMD or not? And John Mueller admitted that they scrutinize EMDs more to, quote unquote, understand them better, end quote. So he did admit that EMDs are not always better to get because they're scrutinized more. So he says, basically, if you can't satisfy your end customer, if you're not sure you can do that, you should not risk getting an EMD, especially if it's really expensive. And so I already know of 2 algorithms personally that I've already tested personally, dozens and dozens of times. That's the EMD algorithm they released September 27th, 2012, with a version of Panda. So they have a version of Panda, or they have kind of like a patch or an add-on to Panda that scrutinizes EMDs even harsher. So let's say this is a hypothetical, but let's say for Panda, it's a site-wide algorithm. Let's say for Panda, if 60% of your pages are not satisfying users and they're bouncing under a certain time, or they're clicking on another result in Google, and Google can track that they're not quality pages, they're not satisfying end users, and that will hit you, that's the threshold that Panda will sync your entire site. The EMD algorithm, the way they're talking about it, it's even more harsh. Like if you're an EMD and you rank even better because of it, they're gonna go after you even harsher. So it could be 40%. Or it might not even work that way. It might be that to hold that page 1 spot, any site on page 1 of Google is all tracked this harshly, because that's prime real estate, right? And it's so important for Google that all of those websites be super high quality, because quality is concern number 1 for them. Never forget, quality results for their searchers is concern number 1. And also Penguin and Payday Loans. Penguin and Payday Loans attacks EMDs even harsher if they have a higher threshold of exact match query or matching anchor text to their domain name. Remember, CyrusShepherd.com got hit, ETS.org got hit, SalvationArmy.org got hit. All probably false positives, because Google doesn't give a crap about false positives. And Cyrus Shepherd, of course, is one of these big whitehead SEO. So he hasn't been doing any black hat linking. So because they have a lot of Cyrus Shepherd anchor text to CyrusShepherd.com, ETS anchor text to ETS, or Salvation Army to Salvation Army. And this is well documented. I've already made 2 or 3 videos about it. You can check my past videos. I got all the examples. I go through example of example, and I show you how that all works. So they do have lots of algorithms that scrutinize EMDs, and so EMDs are not always better. So here's my suggestions for when you're buying EMDs. Quite frankly, now, I have a ski on the end of my name, which means I am frugal, to put it politely. Cheap. I'm cheap, if you want to put it the other way. I don't know if it's actually true that Polish people are Ukrainian, genetically Polish or Ukrainian people, nationwide I'm Canadian, but genetically that's my father's side of the family is Polish. I don't know if it's true that these people are actually cheap. Every culture, as far as I'm concerned, they say they're cheap. So everyone has that joke. So I guess we're all cheap. Anyway, if you want to be cheap like me, I wouldn't bother buying an EMD unless you know that you can make the users of your site stupid happy. And I'm saying that you are going to terminate their search with awesome content. If you know for a fact you've got the awesomest content, you've got the best design, it's a super fast site, you've got really good user interface designers who can provide that content, and you've got really awesome writers who can provide that awesome, funny, hip, interesting content above the fold so that users don't bounce, they don't scroll, they don't get annoyed, they don't go away. They see exactly what they want, their eyes hit it the first thing on the page, and it's there like that. If you know for a fact, and I mean a fact with a capital F, that you can do that on your page,
then by all means register the EMD because it still seems to give a ranking boost. However, if you have any doubt, because if you don't, you'll be hit by Panda because they're going to put you under deeper scrutiny. However, if you have any doubt at all at your ability to make awesome websites in that white hat sense, and not just that best website sense, it doesn't have to do with white hat, that's how you make a good website, right? If you have any doubt at all you can do that, then, or if the EMD costs like $10, $20, $30, $40,000, then you can't make that money back in the first month or two, it doesn't have that much revenue potential, then quite frankly, in my opinion, which is admittedly fairly cheap, but in my opinion, it is not worth the money. It is a 2005 way of doing SEO, which is not necessarily valid in today's age of doing SEO. Because I can rank branded domains all day long. They're not as scrutinized as heavily. You still have to make them good, but not as good. And we can build the brand up. And quite frankly, I can put the keyword in the title, and I can put the keyword in the path of the directory. I can make the keyword the page name. You don't necessarily need an EMD. And quite frankly, another factor is differentiation. If they're already ranking 3 or 4 EMDs with a .me or a .whatever, then getting the .com, yes, can boost you up there, but again, you have to think differentiation, and you're already not trying to take an empty spot, you're trying to take a spot away from somebody else, which means you don't have to just have adequate signals, you have to have better signals than the people who are already there. So you've got to think about all this stuff, and if there's already like 5 EMDs there, I wouldn't even bother trying to have another one, because you have to differentiate yourself, both for the algorithms. Remember the QDD algorithm, the Query Deserves Diversity algorithm, is going to select and sort, I got a do site here, a product site here, an info site here, an article site here, a video here. They're only going to let so many EMDs go there. And also differentiation for what people click on. If they see redapples.com, redapples.org, redapples.me, redapples.blogger.com, they're going to be like, yeah, whatever. They're going to get blind, and it's just not going to be clicked on as much. And the algorithms are going to be scrutinizing you even heavier. So, in my opinion, especially if the EMD costs a lot of money, and you're buying it and it's aged already, you could also already have a penalty, and you already have to deal with that problem as well. So it's just not always worth it. The EMD, it's not 2005 anymore, it's just not always worth it to get the EMD for all these reasons. Okay, so that is my SEO rant for today with associated sub-rants. I hope you enjoyed it. So good luck in the SERPs, and we'll see you next week for more SEO tips. See you then.